unacceptable to me, because what we have presently is a forced constitutional order, and it has thrown up a plutocratic political class who do not care about the welfare of the people.
It's not the question of a brand new constitution, it is the attitudinal change of the people.
There are two sides to every story.
No, there are more than two sides.
Is it the new PDP and the old PDP?
No.
If you look at what happened,
No, you can't.
your PDP went to court and they challenged on the
A community without a common ground will eventually become a battleground.
This is Pastor Chibo, phoning from local government in Enugu State.
Okay, let's go ahead.
Political voices are still my CNN here. I love it, and I love it very much. My name is Willie from Enugu State. Political voices always keeping me busy, always making me happy as I'm on track as a student.
Political voices. One story, many angles.
You're listening to Political Voices here on 92.5 Enugu's Dream FM. And this morning we are having a town hall meeting, and right now I've been joined by special guests from the U.S. Embassy, and we have in the studio Amanda Roach Brown. She is the Deputy Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Consulate General in Lagos, and as well we have the 2023 National Youth Poet Laureate Salome Amaruchi. You're welcome, guys.
Hi, thank you for having us.
All right. Quickly, Amanda Roach Brown is the Deputy Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Consulate General in Lagos. Prior to arriving in Nigeria, she worked in the U.S. State Department's Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migration, where she managed over $200 million in humanitarian assistance for refugees and victims of conflict in Sudan and South Sudan. As a Foreign Service Officer, she has served overseas in the Dominican Republic as Human Rights Officer and in Kenya as Staff Assistant to U.S. Embassy. She also worked in the U.S. Embassy in Liberia on political and public affairs at the start of the second Ebola outbreak. As well, we have Salome Amaruchi, serves as the 7th National Youth Poet Laureate of the United States, a program of Urban Word, the 2023 Western Regional Youth Poet Laureate, and the 2022 Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate. She is a Nigerian-American poet that has written or performed spoken word poetry for the Golden Globes pre-show, NFL Rams halftime show, and opening act on Rupi Kaur's world tour. The likes of Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, Black Lives Matter founder Patrice Cullors, Mrs. Tina Lawson, and many more. You guys are welcome. It's good to have you. So quickly, can you tell us a bit about how you first got into poetry, what inspired you to pursue poetry, and who are some of your biggest influences, Salome?
Thank you for having me again, and thank you for asking. Poetry is something I say has always been in my bones and a part of my expression. I was definitely the kid who was super eager to answer the question in class, and I was always the young student who would ramble on and on about a very minuscule story that happened on the playground. So I was always showing signs of being inclined to perform and speak to an audience from young. And as I grew older, I realized that that's an inclination that I can harness and gear towards a more organized effort such as poetry. So that started around middle school and 9th grade, early high school, when I formally started to identify as a poet, writing and performing in my local community. And before I knew what poetry could be, I knew that I always loved music and hip-hop and rap as well. So a lot of my inspirations are rappers. There's this one rapper named No Name who is so poetic in the way that she spits, and Kendrick Lamar, and all those very Black-centric hip-hop writers were a huge inspiration for how I wanted to express my identity through poetry.
What was your reaction when you were named as the 2023 National Youth Poet Laureate? Can you describe the selection process and what did it mean to you to hold this title?
That was definitely one of the most significant moments in my life. I remember the video is even on YouTube if you type in U.S. National Youth Poet Laureate 2023, commemoration. It was an incredible honor to receive that title, especially because going into it, I knew I would be the only Nigerian to ever have this title. There have been many like generational African Americans to have the title, but representing the African continent and, you know, being a first-gen American from Africa I knew that post would be really significant for me to be able to do things like this, come to Nigeria and you know, facilitate the exchange of cultures. So I felt so beyond privileged to be able to say I was the first Nigerian. And the selection process, you start as, you know, the youth poet laureate of your local community. So I'm from LA County, California, West Side, repping West Coast all day. And so I applied to be the LA County Youth Poet Laureate, and after one round of being the first runner-up, I finally got that. And then after that, I applied for the West region of the United States, and the way that Urban Word divides it, that there are 4 regions of the U.S. So once I got the regional award, there were 4 regional finalists for the national title, and we had to submit poems, an essay, a CV resume, and a video basically advocating for ourselves and not only displaying our poetic talent, but the work that we did in our communities as civic leaders. So a board of judges review those applications and chooses the winner. So it was so beyond beautiful of a moment to realize that I've been recognized.
So what brought you to Nigeria, and Enugu specifically? Is this the first time in Nigeria?
This has been my first time in Nigeria, and definitely the first of many, many other times. I'm here to just do what I do, which is poetry and expression and creative work, and working in communities to uplift the poets that are already here, learn from them, kind of teach what I know, and hopefully establish more of a literary culture that already exists. But it's been beautiful, especially in Enugu. Like, we just did a poetry workshop yesterday, and I was so inspired to see how in the very beginning of the workshop, most of the students would say that they weren't poets and that poetry was too difficult for them and that they're not writers and they're not capable. But by the end of the 2-hour workshop, everyone wanted to share the pieces that they had written. So that's kind of what I'm here to do, hopefully to inspire and be inspired by the community that I am very proud to be a part of.
As a Nigerian American and first generation American, how has your identity, cultural background, and upbringing informed your work? The themes or messages do you explore the most in your work?
My Nigerian identity, which often manifests as just a general Black identity in the States, is one of the most critical, inspirations for my work. The subjects that I cover in my poems are anything from like racial inequalities, global injustices, when we look at neocolonialism and colonialism, how it's negatively affected African people and other just colonial states around the world. That's a lot of what I write about. And one of the beautiful things about this trip is that I'm able to localize the research that I've done. Instead of going online and out of my own curiosity researching facts about the Biafran War, I can come to where it actually happened. I was at the Center for Memories, and looking at the pictures, reading the history in real time will probably, and I shouldn't say probably, most definitely make its way into my work in even more vibrant ways than it already has been.
All right, quickly let us take some words, to throw some questions to Amanda Roach Brown. Can you tell us about the purpose of the 2023 U.S. National Youth Poet Laureate? What do you hope to achieve with this visit?
Yeah, thanks for the question, and again, thanks for having us. So as Salome mentioned, she's here as part of the U.S. State Department program, the Art Envoy program. And this is a program where the U.S. State Department, which is the equivalent of the Foreign Ministry, brings artists, American artists from all backgrounds to various countries around the world. So we were really just glad when they reached out, because Salome is a Nigerian American and she wanted this experience to come and share her talents and to engage with young people here. So that's really what we're hoping to get. It's just a way for us to continue to foster the already really strong and deep ties between Nigerian and American people. There's such a large Nigerian diaspora in the United States. And that diaspora does so much for the relationship between our two countries. So as she mentioned, that she's been here, we've done a series of poetry workshops. We're going to be doing some poetry slams when we return to Lagos. And the idea is really just to bring the creative community together to just increase that collaboration.
How does cultural exchange through poetry and the arts strengthen U.S.-Nigeria people-to-people relations?
So as I was saying, I mean, the idea is that our greatest strength in our relationship is our people-to-people connections. Our consul general, who's based out of Lagos, he always says that people do more than us diplomats can do, because these connections, for example, that Salome is forming with the literary communities here, with the poets here, she's going to be taking them, I assume, through the continuation of her lifetime. She's already talked about coming back, and it's just been beautiful for us to see the connections that are being made with the young people. And I think that's one of the really important pieces, is that we know that the continent is young. It's young people, and Nigeria, for example, the median age is 19. So we're really looking, and the United States is investing in the youth, because we see the youth as the future, and particularly in the creative industries, it's a way for them to share their stories, but also to get economic growth.
And talking about creativity, Nigeria is experiencing an exceptional cultural revolution right now through literature, fashion, film, visual arts, cultural site, entertainment, music, and even sports. Why is the United States interested in forging such close creative industry ties with Nigeria and the rest of Africa?
So it's simple, because we see Nigeria's creative industries as the potential that it has. It has the potential to be Nigeria's largest export center. And it's an estimated 2.7 million jobs that we believe are going to be made by 2050 in the creative industries. So because the United States itself also has a deep and rich history of creative expression, we say for like 70 years, people have been learning about America through our film, through our music. So it's now, it's Nigeria's turn, and this global just appreciation for African art and culture. And we know a lot of that is coming out of Nigeria. For us, there's no better way to continue the partnership and to uplift Nigerian stories than through this continued partnership.
Salome, what has been your favorite public performance or reading so far, and why? How do you prepare for public performances in order to connect with your audience?
My favorite public performance, it's so hard because you can love a poetry performance for so many different reasons. You can love it because the intimate class of 20 students was just so engaging, or the crowd of over 1,000 people were so loud. But I think having to choose a favorite would probably be performing for the Sustainable Development Goals Summit with the United Nations. It'd been a long time goal to perform at the United Nations. I did Model United Nations all 4 years of high school, so just that act of diplomacy was something I've always been passionate about. So yeah, when I was tasked and reached out to by the United Nations to write a poem commemorating the incredible efforts that are made globally to improve the world through the Sustainable Development Goals, I was just so deeply honored. And I was there with the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, who is Nigerian herself, Amina Mohammed, and she's incredible and brilliant. And just being around so many incredible, passionate minds that are committed to philanthropy, advocacy, and improving our world was just showing me exactly the type of person I want to continue to be.
So what advice would you give to young poets who are just starting out?
I would say, please write, like, especially from seeing the roadblocks that are created by our own minds from the students in the Enugu workshop. Like, a lot of them have the capabilities and have it multiplied within themselves, but just felt as though they weren't worthy enough to write down the simple or complex or deep or introspective thoughts that they created with their own minds on paper. And I was just urging, please just write it down, even if you think it's bad, because I promise you it'll touch somebody else. So don't get caught up in the minutia of this poem doesn't sound like that other poem, or this doesn't sound like real work, because it's only your mind creating those roadblocks for you. And especially as Nigerians, as Africans, it is so incredibly important for us to write our own stories, because too many times in history have our stories been written by other people incorrectly and with the intention to vilify us. So young people, again, Nigeria and Africa being just having a lot of young people have the ability to tip that scale if only we make the decision to take action by writing and sharing our work.
Amanda, I know there is a long list of cultural and arts programs that the U.S. government supports every year in Nigeria. Can you describe some of them?
Yeah, there is a long list, so I won't I won't name all of them. We'll be here all day. But I think some of the important ones to highlight. So we actually announced some new programs in March when our Assistant Secretary for Educational and Cultural Affairs visited. She announced some new programs for the African continent. A few of those, one is called the African Creative TV Initiative, and that's to bring writers and producers who work on television series to the United States to exchange with their counterparts in Los Angeles. There's also another one that's focused on filmmaking, where Nigerian filmmakers are selected, amongst others, on the continent to go for a whole academic year to study in the United States to hone their craft. And then there's another one that's called the American Music Production, and that's done in partnership with the Recording Academy or the Grammys. But bringing it home here in Enugu, for years we've supported the Eastern Nigeria International Film Festival. And then also we have a new program that was announced. It's called Cultural Heritage Forward, and that's in partnership with the Smithsonian Institutes in the United States. And they've actually selected 5 participants from the Southeast who will be traveling later in October. And it's about cultural preservation, stewardship, and the ethical return of items that might have been taken from this region during conflict. So we're really excited. For example, we have some of your own from Center for Memories, as well as the National Museum in Enugu, who will be going on this fellowship later this year. So those are just a few of the creative industries programs that we work with.
All right, Salome, you're already in Nigeria. You're in Enugu. What is your favorite Nigerian food?
I would have to say, I don't think the answer will ever change. The way my auntie makes plantains, like she cuts them up small. It's like sweet and salty, crispy. Like some people like them soft. I like it crunchy. So I really like that. But also moi moi. I grew up eating a lot of moi moi. When I was much younger, it was too spicy for me. But now I've toughened. So I really like that.
Have you had a chance to travel around Nigeria?
Well, we landed in Lagos, and we're here in Enugu now, and we're gonna go back to Lagos. So I think that's like a good, a little bit of traveling around, and I hope to see more the next time I'm here. But in the 2 places that we'll be, Lagos and Enugu, we've done a good job of being around, and even if it's not spatially vast in the places we've traveled, like with people, we have seen many,
So you've been to Lagos and Enugu so far. So which of the places, which part is your favorite?
Do you? You're not going to get an answer. You're not going to get an answer. I see you bring me for tricks. You bring me for traps. No, they're both incredible for different reasons. Like one of the things that I noticed when I landed in Enugu is just how much more, I guess, like green it is than Lagos. Lagos is like, most populated city in Africa. So it's like that city feel, which I love. I'm from the LA area in California, which is also a city feel. But Enugu has like a really, really beautiful like natural landscape of the greenery and the waters. And I'm Igbo, so it's Igbo land, so this obviously holds a very, very special resonance within me. But Lagos is just like one of the most beautiful city examples of just diversity and common living. You'll find Yoruba folks Hausa folks, Igbo folks, even international folks like Amanda, like in Lagos. And that's one of the things that a city brings you, an urban area. And I think Lagos serves as a beautiful example of what the African community and the global African diaspora can be. So I love it for different reasons.
Before you leave Enugu, try out Abacha. Do you
Okay.
have a favorite Nigerian song or musician?
Rema has my heart. Rema has been blessing my ear since Do Maybe. I love Rema. And also Yemi Alade. Like, we cannot forget her. When we talk about Afrobeats, it really hurts my soul how we've just forgotten Tumbum. Oh my God, Tumbum. Like, I grew up on that. And when I say Johnny, like, if I'm ever talking to my friends, I'm like, is he a Johnny? Like, let's be serious. So, I would say Rema for like kind of new age and Yemi for classic as my favorite artists.
All right, quickly before we let you go, just give us a short piece. Just let's get to feel you.
Okay, this is a poem that I most notably performed at the White House. So I wanted to share it here. It's called In the Palms of Your Hands. In the palms of your hands is a heart, blessed with a breath, black and abundant. This is the body, the overflow, anatomy of chiffon and kente blend. Church bells resonate homecoming in the throat, black bodies unearthed, riveting. In these pastures, the weather is porgy and best. Stretch out the arms, gather an ounce of summertime, kiss the loose petals that fall in your hand. Sweet honey riptide cascade, river encore, rip ties with cornmeal flattery because cool cats keep it trill. I made a flower for you out of cotton just to chill with you. K-Dot. They say death is just a double dutch to heaven, so we dance. The player tickles pianos in the palm of his hands. The heels thankful that all the black keys were designed to harmonize. Amen to jazz and the gut where it's born. To Soul Train and Coltrane and the palms of his hands. To the way Ma and Pa met and that man had this dance back in 82. Black bodies meet with the eyes to say, I know you. To return, I know you too. This is the audacious exhale of black joy, not memories of tribal drums or the unknowing of collared shirts. It's the laugh so hard that it hurts, molars on full display, not hand-me-down, complacent, content with bare minimum, but today, knowing that the black body can inhabit happiness. The black body can inhabit happiness. It is engaging the inheritance and calling it minds. Black joy. Beauties unbeheld, joys unfulfilled, selflessly stored for later. Generational wealth, equity, grandma's melodies and the wounds they mend. The time stop, justice fruit, partake in the bebop as discos create hairdos undone. Strobe light, lipstick transfer, midriff glisten. Accept the bliss, manifest and bless it with the heart in the palms of your hands.
That was classic.
Thank you.
That's a nice one. I wonder before we leave, how can the public participate in the events and activities during the Poet Live? Are there opportunities for local poets and writers to interact with the 2023 National Poet Laureate?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I feel like we should have ended on that. I can't follow that up. But so we're, as we said, we've been here in Enugu for a couple of days, and we've had the local community, poetry and literary communities join us for some workshops. We also had a nice discussion last night about poetry at the intersection of social justice. We'll be going back to Lagos, and we're engaging with the community there. So we just encourage everyone to continue to follow us on social media, US in Nigeria, for future opportunities as it relates to applying for exchange programs, but other events that people are interested in, particularly as it relates to the creative industries.
Thank you so much, Amanda Raj. And Amanda Roach is the Deputy Public Affairs Officer at the U.S. Consulate General in Lagos. Thank you so much for coming. And as well, the 2023 National Youth Poet Laureate Salome Abaroji. Thank you so much for coming. And you can follow Salome on Instagram at Salome Abaroji. And you can visit our website on www.salomeabaroji.com. And as well, you can follow on Instagram at US in Nigeria. Just do that, or you go to the website at ng.usembassy.gov. Thank you so much for being part of this. All right, once again, follow on Instagram US in Nigeria. That is at US in Nigeria, and you go to the website ng.usembassy.gov. Don't forget to follow Salome at Salome Abaroji on Instagram, and as well on our website at www.salomeabaroji.com. Thanks so much, guys, for being part of this. This is the Montreal taking on today's edition of Political Voices. Remember to keep your comments going to all our social media platforms with the hashtag Political Voices. And on behalf of my producer, Lutana Okereke, and the executive producer, Okeo Dogo, my name is Chinonso Ahek3 Ekoma. Do join us again tomorrow by 9 a.m. Up next is the news in 90 seconds.
Dream FM, station with attitude.